Hey everyone, it's Justin, Voices for Voices. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, uh, Episode, we're over the hump of 330 total episodes. Thank you for watching, listening, whether you're watching on a public server or private server, whether you're near, whether you're far, whether you're in Ohio, or whether you're in New Zealand, uh, in all areas in between. Thank you for joining us and making the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast what it is. Watching, listening, uh, always having it with you on the go, no matter where you're at. Thank you for making us part of your day, a day, more days, one episode, 300 episodes. We can't do this without you. So thank you for joining us today. This episode, we're going to be diving into some pretty disturbing information uh, that we're finding uh, outside of Nigeria, the country. And want to preface as we get into this, the some of the information may be found troubling, but again, we're looking to share information, how it relates to mental health, how it relates to health in general, especially to us as human beings. So before we get into what we believe to be happening and having happened in Nigeria. First, want to level set and take ourselves back to the late 1930s and 1940s. And there was something called World War II that was taking place. There was something that was now it's been called the Holocaust, where there were specific individuals for one reason or another that were picked up, uh, put on trains, and taken to not nice places. And what these individuals were being told was, a new life waits for you, and wear your wear your finest clothing, finest accessories, earrings and jewelry and rings, and so a lot of these individuals, uh, with a good percentage of them being uh, Jews, they were told these things, a new life, everything's gonna be so much better. And so they would see their neighbors and people they know that were being asked in a little bit of a forceful way to leave and hop on the train. So they did. And this is what started what uh, some may call, as far as terms, the Holocaust, where some individuals were uh, were as their train was pulling into certain areas. Uh, we're talking about, let's see, we're talking about Poland, among other countries that uh, had these so-called, uh, they're now dubbed, concentration camps. And to give a little bit of background then on So once these trains would arrive, they would arrive. Um, the individuals on the trains. This isn't. I'm not claiming to be a super historian. Um, just from information that I've read and things I've seen that we're going to get to, uh, make it apparent that these events did happen. Uh, and and so trains would pull in to these stations, and they were at these concentration camps. So everybody got off, uh, and then all of a sudden there was very stern individuals telling them to remove their clothes, remove their jewelry, their accessories, uh, and to go into, let's say we call it a house, but into this building. And there's really two paths. It starts out in one path, and then there's really two paths as things kind of as hallways condense and one of those paths, uh, well, actually, before that, these individuals were told that they were going to be taking showers, uh, before before their great life is to begin. And one way was in one room, and one way was in another room. Uh, One way was, for all intents and purposes, a place to exterminate individuals through um, through gas that would come through the vent. So if you actually looked at the room, you would see, these it's like these vents uh, and so that to the average person, they would see that. Uh, and so that's what they think. They think, oh, we're going to go in, we're going to get a shower, and then we're going to get started on this new life. For half of those people, uh, gas came out of those and really just kind of suffocated people to death. And so they passed away. And then the others on the other side of the building, another room, uh, who were deemed uh, well enough to work and to do the work that these uh, these German troops were asking them to do. More, no, not asking, they're more directing and saying this is what you're going to do. So a lot of the people that were in the gas chamber were a lot of the men, and there were also children and women in there, uh, and that was because the the soldiers, they didn't want any rebellion. They didn't want people to go against them and run away and get out and then go tell people what's happening. And so uh, what I believe in good faith that in those cases that these German troops, they didn't want that to happen. They didn't want people to get away and share what's going on. And so I'm not going to get into like any more of those specifics, but uh, a lot of people died. There's been questions that have arisen over the years of if these things really happen and all that. Um, and so why am I bringing that up today is number one, I was able to go to in my travels over the years. At one time, I was able to go to uh, I'll say the best of what's left of a concentration camp in Lublin. It is called Majdanek, which is Majdanek. And there I was able to see just the vast amount of space, the different buildings, and so walked into that initial building that I just said and talked about. Uh, Everybody has their opinions, but I was there, I saw it, so I know this had happened. Uh, and so with my tour guide, we went into the building, that first building that I talked about, where there's, two ways. One go one way, you go into the gas chamber. The other way, what they say they disinfected um, uh, because the Germans thought that there there was something wrong with these particular individuals, and so that's what they did. Uh, and so I was able to see the room where there's still shades of blue on the walls and the ceilings, which are remnants of the gas that was used to, lack of better terms, exterminate vast amounts of people. So we're talking overall, not just the one that I was at, but there were many other of these concentration camps. Uh, and you may ask, well, why are we talking about this on a mental health show? Well, there's there's some people who have survived, who got out, who made it through, who were children at the time, or by other means, they were able to get through uh, the horrendous conditions that if they did make it through that building, the forced labor, the lack of food, it. I didn't know what to expect until I went, and when I saw these things firsthand, I see these barracks where hundreds of literally just wood beds that these individuals had to sleep in. The intense heat that these individuals had to endure um, because there weren't any windows built out of wood. And I remember the day that I was there, uh, the temperature may have been high 60s, low 70s. We walked into one of those barracks and it was just unbelievably hot. And I had, I think, shorts on and a short sleeve shirt. And so just to think what individuals were going through is just incredible. And one scene, and I'll leave it at this, and then we'll turn our attention to current day. Excuse me. After after the people would get off the train and before they would go into the building, that one way was the gas chamber where people weren't making it out alive, and then the other room. Um, and and I mentioned, them having to take their clothes off and uh, all their jewelry and clothing was collected by these troops, sent back to a central location for Russia to be not Russia for Germans to be able to have and to sell into gold rings. They're able to melt that. Uh, they're able to take tires from cars and help. Or actually, not tires from cars. They're able to take headstones from cemeteries that were in stone, and they were able to use that to build different things throughout these concentration camps. And it was sickening to see. What also was sickening to see was the crematorium, where I can't remember how many of these were lined up, maybe 10. And it's where when people passed away, they would take them in these crematorium or cremate, so there would be no um, or little evidence of what was happening. But what I want to get at is the scene that really made to the actually two scenes that made the biggest impressions on me, besides the rooms and the gas chamber and that. One of those was towards the back of the property. There, there's grass, and so right, so there could be hills, it could be flat, and and I looked at the particular area of grass that the tour guide was sharing with me, and there was like it was like anybody who's golfed, it's kind of the bunkers. So usually sometimes they're steep. So if you hit your ball into the bunker, you gotta hit it, over 5 feet, 10 feet, depending on the golf course. Um, I'm not equating golf to these concentration camps, but just have that thought in your mind. Um, where you look out, you see grass, but then you see like kind of almost like curved divots. And what was explained through history was uh, on the most deadly day at that particular concentration camp, uh, they would line people up and then they would have soldiers with guns and then the rest of them after they're shot, then they go down, the bodies go down in these divots and they either bury them there or they take them to the crematorium and have their bodies cremated. And so I was able to see that. That was something I was able to see with my own eyes. And I couldn't help but just think about what that feeling must have been like for those people, or even the soldiers, whether they wanted to do it or not. But I saw it and it's there and it's real. So for all the naysayers that saying that never happened, uh, I invite you to go on a trip and see these things. And then the last scene was there were at least one building, and there were these like I don't know steel cages. And I mentioned how when the people would get off of the train, they would have to take their clothes off and all their accessories and that. Well, this particular building and the steel cages were the shoes that the people on the trains that got rounded up, and the shoes are still there to this day in these big steel cages, and uh, the color is worn away in most of them. I'm talking steel cage, 6, 7, 8 feet tall, a couple hundred feet long. And there was, I believe, three different of these contraptions with shoes filled from the bottom all the way up to the top. And all I could think of, like, oh my gosh, these are shoes of people, and the reason why this particular concentration camp was still in uh, as good as condition is, to my understanding, the Russians in World War II, they were closing in. And so what the Germans were trying to do with all their concentration camps was to take all as much evidence as they could, and so nobody would find out that those things ever happened. Well, in this case, this was in Poland, and the Germans didn't get word enough ahead of time to be able to try to destroy uh, these barracks, these crematoriums, the again the that initial registration building where there's the gas chamber on one side and not on the other, and you don't know. And they take the previous people that went into the gas chamber, and they just rounded them up and took them to a crematorium. Uh, and so people weren't able to hear the screams, which just boggles the mind. So I went into this pretty long detail of these things because what's come to our attention in good faith is what we're finding out about Christians in the country of Nigeria, where over the years, and I'm going to pull this up here just to make it a little bit easier for everyone. So um, okay, here we go. Over the years, so we're talking about this is the Vatican news. So this is where we're coming from. Uh, and the news title is over 50,000 Christians killed in Nigeria by Islamist extremists. And again, so this is from the Vatican news uh, that that we're seeing. That so there's many other articles out there. This is the one I chosen to bring up. So according to a report, martyred Christians in Nigeria issued by Inner Society over the past 14 years, so over a period of time, at least 52,250 Nigerian Christians have been brutally murdered at the hands of Islamist militants. And this article was written by Lisa Zengarini. And and so we find a little bit of a crossover from what I was mentioning uh, about World War II and the concentration camp I was at, that I was able to view. The reports are over 50,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria since the outbreak of Boko Haram, which is Islamist insurgency in 2009. And this is a newly released report published by a non-Nigerian governmental organization revealed. So as we know, if governments or individuals have control over the press and events, that they can spin a story a certain way. So when you have uh, fair and balanced news, you hear all the different sides, not just one side. And so this is a report that is titled "Martyred Christians in Nigeria." It's been published by an International Society of Civil Liberties and Rule of Law, which is a Nigerian-based research and investigative rights group, group, which has been monitoring and investigating religious persecution and other forms of religious violence by state and non-state actors since 2010. So we talk about, the amount that is being alleged here. It's a lot, 52,000 plus individuals. We get down here and talk about churches, 18,000 in the same period, approximately 18,000 churches were set on fire. 2,200 Christian schools were set ablaze, and 34,000 moderate Muslims also died in these attacks. Uh, and so why we're bringing this up is there are in the United States of America, as well as other countries like Nigeria, there are different religions that are being practiced, and having the right to practice whatever religion it may be, we think of that as a fundamental right. Or again, we get back to that First Amendment, where people might not care, they might not want to uh, get involved in a particular situation. And so things like this potentially occur. And so we want to talk about this, and we wanted to bring this up in our show for a couple of reasons. One is mainstream media here in the United States isn't covering it. So we just want to bring it to the nation, and especially Ohio, Northeast Ohio uh, audience, our viewers, our listeners, but then our viewers and listeners that are not just in the United States of America, that they're in the 80 plus 900, 80 plus countries, 900 approximate cities across the world that have watched or listened to at least one of our shows. And these are numbers that we're able to get. We know there's private servers. We know there's uh, numbers that are higher. We don't know by how much, but we do know that there's more than meets the eye as far as the analytics that we're seeing, and others are seeing, uh, because of that being one of the reasons. Somebody lives in, let's say, rural, out on a farm, in specific areas of the United States, uh, specific parts of states, uh, that they can't get Spectrum internet or AT&T. So in order for them to get their information, they have to get it in a different way. So they have to get it they have a private server that acts like Spectrum. But because it's private, the analytics don't come through the traditional manner. So that's why we know our numbers are low. How low are they from what we're seeing? We're not sure, but we know that they are lower than what the true picture shows. And so we want to share this really because, we bring it back to mental health. If anybody has family that has lived in any of those areas in Nigeria or is living, dealing with the trauma of seeing a horrific event, like a church being burned, schools, others, right? In this case, the Christians being rounded up somehow, some way, and and not all of them surviving. And so we want to bring that to light that even in the year 2025, uh, we would think that we wouldn't be repeating history. And so instead of exterminating or getting rid and in the terms of, Germans in the 1940s, of, the people who are Jewish, uh, are living in their ghettos, that here we have Christians that are being impacted given the information in good faith that we found. And there's multiple, excuse me, nose itches. Thank you. Uh, that we're able to find that. And so there could be and there are individuals who live, again, here in the United States, here in Ohio, uh, or other countries across the world, that to deal with the trauma of losing somebody is hard enough. I know with my dad's kind of untimely passing that I'm still grieving, and so some days are better than others. Uh, and he wasn't massacred. He wasn't taken to one of these concentration camps. And so I know just as a 43-year-old person in the United States that I'm still grieving and going through that process uh, over a year later. And I can just only imagine having a family member and see them being picked up by the police or whomever and then never seeing them again. That has got to weigh extra heavy on their minds. And so I say, oh, well, you should just be able to get past this, or, this is just a, one-time thing, and you just need to get past it. And like, yeah, it happened, but we gotta keep going on. And so, that's easier said than done. And and so, yes, mental health plays a big part with these events. Uh, Individuals, uh, even guards and soldiers who say we were just taking orders from our superiors. And so there could be trauma from that, and could be trauma from their families that they're working through or had to work through. Uh, and so again, number one, we want to bring this to light that this is happening. So whether that 52,000 Christians, being killed is the number, or whether it's 20,000 or 20, there's Christians in the United States of America, as well as other religions, and so a lot of us can relate to just that faith of God for Christians, uh, and to hear and to find stories where because you're a Christian, you may be, taken away and picked up and not sure of what the future holds, uh, purely based off of if you're a Christian. So that's what this story is about. And that's why we thought it was beneficial to share and correlate a little bit from concentration camp in Poland, uh, what I was able to see, what I was able to feel, uh, and then to watch, listen to this particular story about Christians being persecuted in Nigeria to some extent. So for me, one life lost due to something like this, or being a Christian, or whatever the criteria is, I think, and I think we think that that's not a good thing. That's why we brought it up. I'm gonna let people know about it. Want people to learn more about it, not just, oh, it's happening, but oh, I just had somebody from my church go on a mission trip to Nigeria, and they're supposed to be gone for a week, and we haven't heard from them in 2 weeks. So we don't know what to think. Is there no cell service? And then, some of us may find out that because of the beliefs that, they were taken. And so given information, and in that case of being a parent or a loved one, a sibling, somebody who went on a mission trip and got caught up in this, talk about mental health and the 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 trauma and potentially nightmares that somebody's thinking, the thoughts that are coming in their head. It's just really it's unfathomable what people are feeling, or even the mental health of the individuals that can see that their life's going to be cut short, where they're just waiting in line to have their life taken. And so just because those individuals may not still be with us alive on Earth, some of them went through a lot of trauma and a lot of, oh, just can't even imagine. So mental health is everywhere. And this is one of those areas that it does especially occur. And we think that no matter who we are, what we do, that, every life matters. We're not gonna nitpick and say only these lives matter. Uh, or we're saying that all lives matter. And so even here in the United States and as far away that Nigeria is, they're still human beings that live there or on mission trips there. And so their lives don't deserve to be cut short. Nobody's are, that's up to God and my belief system. We don't know if we're going to be, if we're going to wake up tomorrow. We don't know if we're not promised any second, any minute more than what the present time is. And so that's kind of that third prong of why we're talking about this is maybe, just maybe somebody watching and listening to this show, this particular episode, I've been swatting at a fly. So if you see my hand is like, is that a hand? Yeah, so I'm swatting at a fly. We have one that kind of made its way inside. Um, But it's because of you that's made us who we are, and we thank you for that. We want to say that we hope that uh, you're able to dream, that you're able to go after your dreams, and we want to say celebrate and be a voice for you or somebody in need. And lastly, what we'd like to share from us to you, whether you're a believer um, like I am or not, we want God to bless you, whether you're here in the United States or whether you're across the world. Uh, we're all God's children, and we all deserve that right to live as as long as God has us on this earth. We're here to do something. Some may be some things may be clearer than others. And so that we're using Voices for Voices to do that. Uh, and so we'll see you on the next episode and hope you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye for now.